client came to me with something that most practice owners are working towards. She had a full schedule, she had great revenues, she even already had bookkeeping and a tax CPA in place, but she just wasn't able to pay herself consistently. So today I'm walking you through exactly what her bookkeeping couldn't tell her and what got her to a $15,000 consistent paycheck every month, plus a second provider on her team. I'm Chelsea Zainea. I am a CPA and I work specifically with medspa, HRT, and other cash-based wellness practices to build the financial systems they need to run profitable practices and make decisions based on data instead of guesswork. In this video, I'm walking you through one client's story from start to finish, the 3 things her bookkeeping was missing, and what changed once we fixed them. Okay, so here's something that trips up a lot of sole proprietors, and it's not their fault, it's just something that isn't explained well, and it's truly kind of a hard concept to understand. So when you're a sole proprietor, you're not paying yourself through a typical labor process, through a typical payroll process. So your labor cost isn't actually on your profit and loss statement. If you do pay yourself, it's showing up as owner distributions on the balance sheet. So it's not on that profit and loss. So what happens is when you pull that profit and loss statement, even if you're looking at it, that profit may look totally healthy, but you could still be working maybe even full-time in your practice and not paying yourself anything. And it would still look like your practice was totally profitable, you have a good profit on there, but it's just truly not fully capturing all of your costs because that labor cost isn't in there. Okay, so my client, we'll call her client C. When C came to me, she had a telehealth practice, a telehealth weight loss practice, and she already had bookkeeping and her books were actually clean and her profit and loss showed a profit, but she was a sole proprietor, so her labor wasn't showing up on her profit and loss statement, and she actually wasn't paying herself anything. So when we factored in the cost of her labor, she truly actually wasn't even profitable, even though her profit and loss actually showed a profit. This is why understanding your numbers and what's actually in your reports, even in the context of your own situation, is so important. So if you're a sole proprietor and you are looking at your profit and loss statement, you want to make sure that you also factor in what you would have to pay somebody else in your position for a month. And that will give you your true profitability for the month. If your books aren't even set up to give you a profit and loss statement, that is the first thing you need to fix. I have created a DIY bookkeeping cheat sheet specifically for med spa, HRT, functional medicine, and other wellness practices that's designed specifically for how your business runs to give you information that's truly useful. So grab that in a link below, but stay with me, because understanding what her profit and loss statement was truly telling her was only the starting point for C. What we found when we dug into her profitability by treatment was even more significant. So your profit and loss statement is going to give you an overall picture of your revenue and expenses, but you really need to dig in deeper and be looking at your profitability by treatment, because you could have a service that's generating a lot of revenue, but is truly not profitable. In this case, client C had a membership program that was really driving her recurring revenues every month. Members loved it. It was a big hit, but it only had a 30% gross profit margin on it. So at 30%, you're just not going to have enough left over to cover all of your overheads or fixed costs and still leave you a profit after that. So C had built this membership base and this large source of recurring revenue, but it wasn't really driving profits in the same way that it was driving revenue. And her bookkeeping never flagged it because labor costs weren't even in there. So knowing your profit margins by treatment is a completely different exercise than just looking at your profit and loss statement every month. And it's really important because you could have a service or treatment in there that's really, it may be driving revenues, but it is not driving your profitability. And in this case, that's where the major problem was, and we never would have found it had we not dug deeper. So now C understood what her numbers truly meant and what her profit margins actually were by treatment. The last missing piece was being able to plan and look forwards and not just backwards. Bookkeeping tells you what already happened, but when you're trying to make major decisions like how much you can pay yourself consistently, if you can hire another provider, if you can buy that device, if you can move to a larger location, these require planning and they require you to put numbers to those plans. You need to be able to look forward and see how making these decisions is going to affect your business financially. So once we fixed client C's membership pricing problem and we improved her profitability, we needed to put together a plan for her. So we put numbers to all of the things that she was thinking about, and this makes making decisions so much easier because you have that visibility. And with that, we were able to see that she could pay herself $15,000 a month and also bring on another provider. And she could see that that fit into her plan and what she needed to keep her revenues and her margins at in order to make all of that happen and manage the outcomes towards that. A planning tool takes your current numbers and projects them forward so you can see how they're going to affect your cash flow and your profitability. And this is the piece that connects your bookkeeping to your actual goals. It's the difference between having financial records and having a financial system that works for you. One is going to tell you what already happened, and the other is going to help tell you what to do next. C did everything she was supposed to do. She had bookkeeping, she had a tax CPA, and none of that made her profitable. What made her truly profitable was understanding what her numbers were telling her, looking at her profit margins by treatment, and building a plan that showed her what was possible. Bookkeeping is the starting point, but it is not the finish line. In the next video, I'm walking you through the complete system that ties all of this together so you're not just reactively reading your reports, but you're using them to proactively run your practice.